Today I'm visiting with Dr. Micheal Gonda, who's an animal geneticist at SDSU Extension. He's one of the keynote speakers at the SDSU Extension Genomic Seedstock Symposium held in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And today, Dr. Gonda spoke about DNA technology. So I'm going to ask him some questions so that he can explain to us a little bit about what is DNA. So first of all, Dr. Gonda, how would you define DNA?
Well, Lynn, I would define DNA as the blueprint of life. It really is the code that our body's cells, as well as the cells of all livestock species, use to basically grow, develop, create all of the different tissues, the different organs that they need to survive, reproduce, and grow.
Well, and of course today our conference we're talking about beef cattle industry or the cattle industry. So how does DNA fit into a beef cattle production?
DNA is oftentimes used, well, it's most frequently used in beef cattle production to increase selection accuracy. So, for example, if you're trying to make a decision on which two animals you want to actually select for in your herd, you can use DNA testing to increase that selection accuracy so that you can choose the right animal for your operation. It can also, of course, be used for things like genetic defect testing and those sorts of simply inherited traits as well.
Well, for many years in the beef industry, producers have used EPDs, and now with genomic enhanced EPDs, how does DNA tie into genomic enhanced EPDs? Can you explain to producers that connection?
Yeah, sure. So what's happening, Lynn, is that the DNA test information is actually being included with all of the information on progeny records, own performance data, pedigree records. They're all basically being wrapped together and combined into a single estimate of genetic merit of that animal, which we term the genomic enhanced EPD. The only real difference between a traditional EPD and a genomic enhanced EPD is, as the name implies, that the genomic enhanced EPD is taking advantage of that DNA testing information to increase the accuracy of the EPD.
So what are some of the components in the beef cattle industry where DNA testing is taking place?
The DNA testing is really taking place in almost all of the components of the beef industry, the seed stock industry, commercial, cow-calf producers. It's oftentimes used when producers want to retain ownership, but even when they're just selling their calves at weaning in a traditional cow-calf operation. It's used pretty much everywhere.
And what would be some of the DNA tests or reasons for doing the DNA test? What are they trying to measure?
Just about every trait under the sun. The most frequent traits that we see right now in the beef industry where we're doing DNA testing for are things like marbling and ribeye area and those carcass traits, as well as some weight traits like yearling weight, weaning weight, birth weight. But there are also DNA tests currently available for things like docility and even feed efficiency and those types of traits. And in the future, we anticipate seeing more traits, more novel traits being introduced that we can test for with DNA testing, like fertility and disease susceptibility.
Well, thank you very much for taking some time to explain to us what you talked to the producers about in regards to DNA technology at the Seedstock Symposium in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And more information can be found at www.igrow.org.